got excited, had all the warm and fuzzy feelings about this person. They had the physical attraction, and there were some things that you knew about them, but you were just hoping that this one relationship will really work for you. Well, stay tuned. We're going to talk about that and so much more. We're going to talk about one of the biggest mistakes that happens when it comes to dating. What's up, Brave Hearts community? This is Shon Heineman, your premier pre-engagement coach, back with another segment of It's Scary to Remarry, inspiring you to love fearlessly. If there's any questions, make sure to leave them in the chat below. I will answer them. But I want to talk about a word that's been around for a long time, but it somewhat resurfaced. I was on fan base the other day, and I was talking to one of the guys there, and he brought up this word called limerence, and it's been around since 1979 as far as it's been traced. But it's something that we don't discuss, and I'm going to break this term down and how this affects dating. So, the definition of limerence is this: a psychological and emotional state of intense romantic infatuation with another person. It goes beyond a typical crush and is marked by obsessive thoughts, emotional dependency, and we're going to talk about that too, and a strong desire for reciprocation. And that is something we're going to talk about in detail as well. If you have any questions, make sure you leave them below. We're going to discuss this whole limerence thing. So, as I was doing a study on psychology today, one of my favorite platforms when it comes to doing research, says psychologist Dorothy Tenoff, who coined the term in her 1979 book Love and Limerence. So again, like I said before, it was around since 1979 as far as we can remember. An individual must not know how the object of their desire truly feels about them and will typically conceal their feelings for the other person as well to the best of their ability until they are more certain the other person reciprocates their feelings. Now, we're going to do a lot of reading today. It's going to be pretty dense, but I want to make sure that we cover as much ground as possible when it comes to this word limerence, so that way there's no questioning about the word and how we can move forward with learning about this. And so when it talks about how people will conceal their feelings to the other person until they are more certain the other person reciprocate their feelings, I think that happens a lot when it comes to dating. We will give someone a little information. Now don't get me wrong, I get it. So in the comments, say what you need to say. I do believe that there is a certain amount of ourselves we must give in a dating process when it comes to just getting to know someone, because I hear a lot about how people say, I want them to know I want them to know me, right? I want them to be real, I want them to be raw, I want them to be honest, so that way I know how to moving forward. Like, is this person a good fit for me? And so I need you to keep it real with me. And so my question to you also is that the way you date? Do you believe that a person should be their authentic self coming out the gate, and what they desire from you? Is that what you want? If so, leave it below in the comment section. Or would you like for things to be a little mysterious, if you will? Because some people will say, I have dated and was open and honest about what I wanted. You fill in that blank, whatever that person wanted. And it might have been too much for someone, right? So the thing is, do you want them to be open with you? Or do you want this relationship to kind of somewhat build over time and them not tell you everything up front? So that's something that's worth a discussion, because they talk about the how to conceal their feelings for the other person as well to the best of their ability until there's more certainty that the other person will reciprocate their feelings. So that's a topic within itself. I think that is interesting. And so, as we go further into this dating process and this term limerence, it says, "What are the three stages of limerence?" The three are infatuation, crystallization, and deterioration. And I'm going to break those down. During infatuation, the individual begins to notice the other person and recognize their positive qualities. Okay, the infatuation. I think we're all guilty of that, right? We know what we want. We know what we like physically in a person, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think you should marry someone that you are attracted to, and beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So people look different to different people. I do believe that. And so sometimes you might see somebody, they might not be attractive to you, but that other person is happy. They're like, no, she's the queen I imagine her to be, or so what, he's only 5'7". I'm okay with that. Right. So it just individualized. It just depends on the person and what they like. And so those positive physical qualities, there's nothing wrong with that. But then it says they're positive qualities. What do those positive qualities look like? Are they happy? Are they cheerful? Is that something that you're looking for in a person? Are they a little more reserved? Do you like someone that's soft spoken? Those kind of different things. And everybody's preference is different. So the infatuation, right? There's nothing wrong with that. And so the second stage is crystallization, that the individual experience the obsessive, anxious, and ecstatic intensity of their feelings. I'll repeat that again. During crystallization, the individual experiences the obsessive, anxious, and ecstatic intensity of their feelings. Now, usually this happens when you have the quote unquote puppy love, right? You know, you may be 15, 16, and you are having these obsessive and anxious and intense feelings of this person that you like, right? But this actually happens in adulthood too. This happens to people in their 30s, you know, even in their 40s, right? I don't think this is above a certain age range. There is some maturity in it though, but I still believe we can get flooded with those feelings of anxiousness or happiness. And even maybe some people be obsessive because they feel like this person really loves me, for me. And we're going to talk about that a little more in detail. And so the third stage of limerence is this, is deterioration. That's the third one. Deterioration, the idealization of the object of the individual's limerence begin to wear off, as do the intensity of the feelings. We talk about that, you know, you first start dating someone and you both are clicking, and you're feeling those dopamine hits, and you're excited about seeing them, you're excited about hearing from them. I remember my wife and I, when we dated long distance, it was a certain level of excitement to get a text, or to get that phone call. It's like, I don't want to miss this phone call. You stop whatever you have to do to make sure you catch this phone call because you're dating long distance and you want to hear from them. And that's that excitement. But one thing I have learned over time, and I even tell singles about this now, there is a period where the newness start to wear off, and we're going to talk about that in detail as well. And I think that's when you're able to make a sound decision on if I'm going to be with this person or not. So when the feelings wear off, are you still feeling the same way about that person? Like, no, she's a keeper or he's a keeper, regardless. After all, the dopamine wore down, and I'm kind of quote unquote used to this person now, and I'm throwing up my air quotes. Can you still stay with that person? I think that makes a difference, because even in marriage, the warm and fuzzy feelings isn't always there, right? Especially if you're talking about doing till death do us part. Every day isn't going to be unicorns and candy and Snickers and ice cream. Like, it just doesn't work like that. And I think this is important in dating too, because when we take the time to evaluate a person outside of our feelings, I think that's when reality can set in and we can make more of a sound decision. Because a lot of times we're just caught up in those good feelings, and we just assume that the rest of the relationship is going to be like that, or this person is going to make me feel like this. And that can be dangerous because feelings are, they ebb and flow. They change every day. And so we have to be mindful about when we make decisions based out of our emotions opposed to the reality of things. So let's talk about this a little further. So, how does limerence ends? How does limerence ends? Limerence can end with sadness, agony, or indifference. The psychologist Tenoff describes three typical endings to the state of consummation, starvation, and transference. So those are the three. Let's talk about the definitions. Under consummation, the person in a limerent state discovers the object of their desire also has a desire for them and engages in a physical or romantic relationship. This often causes the spell to break and the limerent person to move on with their life. And so, in my opinion, I think a lot of this happens in serial dating. So when people are, they're just continually dating, they're just meeting new people over and over and over again because they want that rush of meeting someone new and having those feelings. And to a degree, I believe that you're somewhat running away, not you, but just generalizing, they're running away from the reality that this will get old, that the newness will wear off. So that's something that if you are a serial dater, keep that in mind. But I wanted to kind of double back a little bit when the definition of limerence, when I read it earlier, because there was one key that I left out that I think was very important. And the second sentence says about the definition of limerence: it goes beyond a typical crush and is marked by obsessive thoughts, emotional dependency. That emotional dependency piece is important because I posted something about this the other day about how our feelings are swayed based on maybe she didn't text me all day today, or maybe he didn't text me all day today. So now I'm upset, now I'm frustrated. And so now this person has control over your feelings opposed to, hey, maybe they got caught up in something. Maybe they were tired. Maybe they were working all night. Like other people have lives, and for some odd reason we believe, and I've been guilty of this too. I'm not saying that this is, I have never made these mistakes. It's just something that I've learned over time myself as well, that to let someone have that kind of control over your feelings and emotions shows that there's some more maturing for us to do. And so it might not change overnight, don't get me wrong, because life is real, and we want to be happy, we want to be joyful, and there's nothing wrong with those things. But to let someone have that kind of control over you, you can have a good day or having a good day, and you met somebody and y'all in this talking stage, and then all of a sudden you get hit with, he didn't text me today, or I haven't heard from him today. Usually he texts me the good morning queen and all this other stuff, right? Or good morning king, all that, right? And you realize that you didn't get that today. And even though you're having a good day, it changes. Now all of a sudden it's, oh, I don't know what's wrong with him. Why is he tripping? Why haven't he sent me? And we train people, and I'm just using train. Okay, I know that there could be another word for it. If there's another word for it, comment below. We train people how to treat us. So whatever that flow is that we've gotten used to, we expect that. And I understand. A lot of times we live life on autopilot. I was talking about this not too long ago, where I talked about this in my ebook about finding love again. It's in my ebook. And so I talked about how a lot of people live on autopilot. And what that looks like is a lot of things we don't think about. We just automatically do it. We just automatically know. It's like driving. You don't really have to think to drive because you're so used to doing it, or whatever that is. If it's exercise, like whatever those autopilot kind of things that we do in life where we don't have to think, it doesn't take a lot of emotional bandwidth, we like living there. And so we make a lot of mistakes in dating because we live on autopilot, if I can be honest. And that's why we keep dating the same person, but just a different face, because we're living on autopilot. We're not really pumping the brakes and think for a second, wait a minute, let me catch myself, because again, I got those good warm and fuzzy feelings going on, and I'm just chasing that feeling, and that's what got me in trouble last time. Is I was chasing the warm and fuzzy feelings when I should have took the time to stop and think for a second. Wait a minute, I made that mistake last time. Or I fall for a certain type of man, or I fall for a certain type of woman, and I'm not thinking, because as soon as I get that acceptance from that person, and this is where I want to go with this acceptance as well, is when it comes to limerence, it says a strong desire for reciprocation. And that's the end of the definition of limerence. It says it's a psychological and emotional state of intense romantic infatuation with another person. It goes beyond a typical crush and is marked by obsessive thoughts, emotional dependency, and a strong desire for reciprocation. And that's when I talked about earlier about the text messages and what we are looking for this person to do for us in return. And so they talked about with limerence, the difference between limerence and love is reciprocated. We're both looking out for each other. Limerence is just, what can I get out of this? That's the thing with limerence. That's what makes the difference. Because people can say, well, some of these things kind of maybe feel like lovish, right? And so that's the difference between the two. I say this when it comes to dating, and this is just something that I've learned over the years, and even with couples that I've coached. And I talk about this in my ebook as well. One key to know if someone is right for you is they come to you offering. They say what they can give, right? It's this joint acceptance where we're both looking out for each other. But a lot of times we get into relationships like, I want a man who does this. I want a woman who does that. And I'm talking to men and women, right? I'm an equal opportunity employer. So this isn't about what men should just be doing or what women should just be doing. I'm talking about dating in general. So this isn't one of those channels where we downplay men or women. This is equal, because we all make these same mistakes, men and women. And so when we get to the place where we coming to give and that other person is coming to give, I believe that's a great key to having a healthy relationship. Can we outserve each other? Like, I'm always thinking about what's going to benefit you, and that other person, I'm always thinking about what's going to benefit you. So this joint effort makes us stronger, and we get into a cycle, right? We train each other how to treat us. And so that's what makes the relationship stronger, because it's like, I always have your back, you always have my back. And not so much of just what I think you should have, but what is that person actual desire? Because we talk about that with the love languages, right? It's like we treat people through our love language opposed to what that person wants. And it's like, yeah, I love him, I love her, I do these things, but is that what they desire? That's the difference. And usually, what the other person desire is usually our biggest challenge. And that's what makes relationships challenging, because we think we can go into relationships just loving someone the way we want to be loved, opposed to loving them the way that they desire. And when that happens, when you are willing to accept that challenge, I believe that's when we stretch. That's when we begin to grow more, because we're looking outside of ourselves. We are walking in someone else's shoes. And that's the growth. That's the beauty of a marriage, is because I have empathy. I'm realizing that the world is bigger than me. and that everything doesn't revolve around me, and that's okay. I know we all like to be loved and desired. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you have that person who's just constantly taking, that's when you feel depleted. I was saying this the other day on Fanbase. I was talking about how um, are you making more deposits into your relationships than withdrawals? I'll say that again. Are you making more deposits in your relationships or withdrawals? And I say this a lot. Have you ever went to the ATM machine and there was $19.39 in your account? You needed 20, but you short. And so now that you need that $20, you put the card in, and you realize that you can't take out the 20. And even to that degree, you still need more than $20 to keep the account open. You need like $20.05. So you need to go over to make sure that you can take out the necessary money in your account. And so when you spend more time depositing love, depositing the thing that your spouse or your significant other desire, when it's time for that withdrawal, it's all good. It's all good because you have filled up their love tank. You have filled up their account. Their account. So my question to you is, if I asked your significant other how much is in their love account, how many deposits have you made? Is there a lot of deposits? Is there $10,000 saved into their love account? Or are you in the negative? And that can damage your relationship because a lot of times people take, and that's what this whole thing of limerence is. It's the taking. It's just what I want, opposed to can this be reciprocated. And a lot of people unfortunately go into relationships without a reciprocating mindset. They just go into a relationship for what I can gain to make me feel good. And look, if you're single and you aren't trying to get in a relationship, that's the beauty of it. The beauty of it is you don't have to make any deposits or withdrawals in anybody else's account because it's just you. And that's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you get into a relationship, now you got the ATM card. Now you got the debit card. Now you have to start making those deposits. And sometimes those deposits going to cost you. Are you willing to pay the cost to keep that relationship valid? Okay. So I know I ran on a little rant for a second, but okay. So how limerence ends, we talked about those three. We talked about the consummation, the starvation, and the transference. The question was asked, and a lot of this is coming from Psychology Today. This isn't just me just talking about things. This is researching what I've read. Limerence can last for as little as a few weeks or as long as a lifetime. But most estimates put the average duration between 1 and 3 years. And so I found that interesting that sometimes people will go with this infatuation of a person because when you're dating, you have the physical attributes, but now you want this person to match uh, match your what you want from a person. And so that might not fit. Even though they're attractive, they might not have the things that you're looking for in a person. What are those traits? Are you all about someone who's do they have integrity, right? What does their morals look like? Do they match? Because I do believe that having morals and values, those things they matter when it comes to a relationship. So what are your morals and values? What does your compass look like? And so even though that person might be attractive, there's other things about you and this person that doesn't match. The morals might not match. You know, um, they might not match. So now you're willing to take a chance on thinking that you could change this person when you really can't, because we're so caught up in the way that they look and that feeling of wanting to be accepted by this person, because that validates us to a degree. It's like, look who I have on my arm. You get people who, when they break up in relationships, you have a friend or girlfriend or whatever, your homie. Well, I know mostly women say this, right? So mostly women say this. Don't kill me in the comments. You find out that the guy you were dating, that it wasn't working, that it didn't work. You let the guy go, and so she says, "Girl, y'all look so cute together. Y'all look so cute together." And so it's like, now this is playing in your head. Should I go and try to get this guy back again because we look so cute together? And so a lot of times people fall in love with that, again, the idea, opposed to what's going to make you happy and joyful. And some people, not all, but some will rather deal with the image of a relationship with someone, even though that person doesn't treat them well. So some people will stick around, unfortunately, and waste years with someone who doesn't help them, or someone who's not helping fill their love tank. They're making more withdrawals, but in public it makes the two of you look really well. It makes you look good because a lot of people are sold on the idea of the relationship. If you have any questions or comments below, make sure you leave them below. Would love to hear from you as well. Thank you all for the love that's been shown on TikTok. Okay, so who is most vulnerable to limerence? That's the question. Who is most vulnerable to limerence? Because after hearing, listening to me for almost 30 minutes, you're like, wait a minute, do I struggle with that? Wait a minute, where did that come from? And so let's look at this. Researchers Wilmot and Bentley note that there is a consistent correlation between limerence with those with anxiety, depression, and substance abuse. So those three are a consistent correlation between limerence and anxiety, depression, and substance use. Limerence also can be tied to trauma. Early childhood abandonment or neglect may correlate to the likelihood of experiencing limerence, and it has been associated with PTSD as well as obsessive compulsive disorder. So as we get ready to end this thing on limerence, here are some key features, and I talked about that, but I'm going to sum this all up. So some of the key features are: number one, obsessive thinking, constantly thinking about the person, called the limerent object, often involuntarily. I mean, this person, you can't get them out of your head. They made you feel so good. And the scary thing about limerence is we want that person to reciprocate to us, but they might not even be that interested in us. They might just be using us to hold us over until they can find a person that they really want. But that's the danger of limerence, because you're looking for something to be reciprocated opposed to someone who genuinely likes you for who you are. They're going to reciprocate because they like you. You can't force someone to like you, no matter how tall he is, no matter how slim her waist is, no matter what is her hip to waist ratio, no matter how cute she is. If they don't like you, they just don't like you. And again, some people are okay with using you and keeping you until they can find the person that they are truly looking for. And so you have to be aware and love yourself enough to know when someone is just using you as a placeholder until they can get the person that they want. Key features of limerence. Number two, idealization, placing the person on a pedestal and overlooking their flaws. This is a huge one because, again, we have the idea of what we think a person should be in our head, but we overlook their flaws. And so when we say he changed on me, he really didn't, or she didn't. It's just that we overlook those things because of limerence. We fell in love with the idea when the reality has always been there. We just had on the rose colored glasses and haven't accepted that these are their flaws. Number three, emotional dependency. Mood heavily depends on how the person responds. Euphoria when they seem interested, and despair when they don't. Again, that person controls you emotionally. That's the scary part. And this happens a lot in marriages as well. Because if our spouse is having a bad day, we're having a bad day. And so it's like, yeah, you can be having a bad day, but that doesn't mean my day have to be bad. Now, I'm going to try to help you realize what the problem is and stuff like that. But if you're just in the mood, you're just in the mood. And, you can keep your day going. That doesn't mean you got to abandon them or, laugh and giggle while they're struggling. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that a lot of times we allow people to control our mood just because they're in the mood. And that doesn't have to affect you. Number four, fear of rejection. Anxious need for signs of reciprocated feelings. We talked about that earlier. Even small signs are overanalyzed. Again, this is why it's important to ask questions. Okay, if I haven't talked to you in a day or two or whatever, hey, is everything good? Or giving that person the common courtesy to be like, hey, I'm out with friends or whatever it is. Just send them a text. Hey, that's just common courtesy. I know you were maybe expecting me to call you, but hey, this is going on. I need to catch up on some rest. Whatever. Just having that common courtesy. But that only comes to someone who's really interested in you. If they aren't interested in you, they won't text you. They won't let you know what's going on because they just really don't care. And so now here you are, your emotions all over the place about someone who doesn't care about you. Number five, intrusive fantasies. Frequent daydreams about a future together or being rescued or saved by them. To put that kind of responsibility on one person is unfair. People can't be your savior. Like, we're all beautifully broken, and we can only carry so much before we break down and trying to carry someone. Have you ever tried to just carry someone? They were just like emotionally, where they just wanted to just use you emotionally, like you had to always be their cheerleader. And I'm saying always. Yes, I said always. You always have to come through for them. And so that will wear you out over time. And again, no one is meant to carry that kind of load. You probably need some Jesus in your life. Number six, physical symptoms. Key features of limerence. Physical symptoms: heart racing, trouble sleeping, loss of appetite, especially when around or thinking about that person. Again, having that idea of what you think someone should be, opposed to accepting them for who they are. And before I end, this is important to know. Limerence can feel like love. We kind of talked about this, but it's often rooted in unmet emotional needs, fantasy, or projection. Healthy love includes mutual respect, reality based connection, and emotional balance, not just for longing. Now, don't get me wrong, sometimes life happens and you might have to carry the relationship for a season, or it's never really just this balance. It's kind of always swaying. Sometimes it's 60-40, sometimes it's 70-30. It just depends. But the important thing is, for someone who loves you, they don't want everything to always weigh down on you. They want to make sure you good, and we're always checking in on each other. That's real love. Limerence is, I just need you to carry everything. I'm just looking for somebody to carry me, right? And that doesn't last long. That's not sustainable. And so I hope that you have learned something from this today. Limerence, look it up for yourself. Again, it's been around since 1979, but shout out to my guy who brought this up to my attention, and I thought it was something that we should discuss as a community, and especially if you are dating and you're looking for someone to love, and to be loved, to be return love in return, right? So check out the website, scaredtoremarry.com. My ebooks are there. If you've been in a long distance relationship, get the long distance love toolkit. That's there. And if you are looking to get into a relationship and maybe you've been through a divorce and you're looking to love again, grab the ebook there as well. And so this is Shon Heineman at scaredtoremarry.com. Thank you all for rocking with me. I appreciate you all. Take care.